Are we live?
I think we're live. Are we we have to see if we're horizontal or not, though.
Let's see. Oops, that's not it. Okay, we're obviously trying something different this week. Yeah, we're not.
We're side and we're like oriented properly. This is good.
This is good. Just to briefly catch everyone up, we weren't really sure how Instagram Live was going to look.
From this end.
From this, yeah.
We've watched them.
We've seen them, but we weren't sure about the filming of them and specifically which way the camera would be going.
Yeah.
So the other thing to note, aside from this is our first time here, very exciting.
Yeah.
Because Instagram does not save comments, we are going to attempt to keep an eye on comments and address them during our chat.
Yes.
So hello everyone that's chatting. That seems to be what it is so far.
Do we have people already?
We do.
Oh, we have people. Hello.
So this is kind of exciting and different, and we'll see how we do at multitasking.
We'll do our best.
We may address comments more towards the end. That might be the easiest, as opposed to just...
Yeah, maybe we'll like break one before we do spoilers, so we can like see if there's any there, and then...
And then if not, we'll just do it at the end, and if not, that's okay too.
Yeah, and if we notice them while we're going, we'll do that too. We'll do our best. We're going to figure it out as we go.
We're going to figure it out. Okay, so welcome back to Friday nights. This is Book Chats with Mostly Books. I'm Jody.
I'm Jen.
And tonight we are talking about Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. This is the second one that we've done of her, so we're already big fans.
Yeah, do you want me to pull that one?
No, I think it's okay. We did Gods of
Jade and Shadow.
Yeah, thank you. Before, and we really liked.
I did like that one.
And we were very excited for this one at that time.
Yeah, because this one wasn't out yet.
So before we go too far, you want to do synopsis?
Yes. So Noemi and her father receive a very unsettling letter from Noemi's cousin, Catalina, and she's been recently married and moved in with her husband and his family, and it's like, help, they're trying to kill me. Basically, there's some other stuff, but that's what it sums up to. And they're like, haha, this is weird. And Noemi goes to like investigate and check on her cousin and see what's up.
And she makes a deal with Dad.
Yeah, she makes a deal with Dad. He's like, if you do this, you can go to the university you want to. And she's like, okay, deal. So she goes and she leaves her like glittering socialite life in Mexico City to go to her cousin and cousin's husband's house, high place in this small town, and the house is on a hill. It's very remote and isolated and creepy and misty and
everything you want in your Gothic horror to
have. Yeah, and then she starts having weird dreams. The family members are creepy, and she just gets deeper and deeper into it until both she and her cousin may not leave the house ever again.
That was a very large recap. It was good.
Well, because it's like it gets to a point where it's just like, oh, we're going down the gothic horror rabbit hole here,
right? Yeah, we really did.
Talk about that.
I'm gonna go on a limb and say Jen loved it, just because Jen has told me several times.
I did really enjoy this book. I read it in like 2 days, I think. Well, I listened to it. I did the audiobook on Vibro.
I also loved it.
Yeah,
I did. Man, this was totally like on brand for us. I felt like as I was reading it made me laugh. You know, it was great. It was creepy. Her writing is so good. I think this is one of my favorite characters in a long time.
You told me that because you just started and then you'll be like, oh my gosh, I love her.
You know, she's so smart. She so knows what she wants and how to get it and how to work situations in order to do that. And I was just not that self-aware or self-knowing, I guess, in my early 20s. So, I mean, kudos to her.
Yeah, because she's like, I feel like I read somewhere she's 19. I might have made that up.
It was, somewhere. I was thinking 19 or 20. I couldn't remember either.
Because, you know how in musicals it's always 19-year-olds? Les Mis, Rent, Hamilton. It's like, it's always 19-year-olds. So I don't know if I just conflated those and made up that 19-year-olds are always up to things.
We have been talking about musicals, but...
yeah.
So yeah, definitely enjoyed this one. Good pick. Spooky.
It was spooky.
Yep. Do you want to start with the writing?
Yeah.
Let's do that. Before characters?
No.
Or do you want to do characters?
Maybe we should do characters first.
Yeah, your choice.
Let's do characters first.
Do you want to talk about Noemi?
Yeah. So, I liked her. She is, like, she is a socialite, and she has all these, in like the first chapter we get of her in Mexico City, she's talking about like, oh, there's parties you go to, or I'm going to this recital with this guy, oh, my dad doesn't like this guy, and it's all like this kind of a plot, and she navigates it like very well, or she like knows how she's playing it. Like, and she's very good at that.
Yeah, she's very much in control of all of her debutante excursions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she like goes up to High Place. Literally, you have to go up the mountain. And she's like, this family doesn't talk when they eat dinner.
That
like,
was weird.
Like, she's like, this is so weird. There's
So
like,
weird.
yeah, so she like really sticks out there, and like a lot of, and not a lot of, but like some of her troubles, her obstacles there are just that her lifestyle is not their lifestyle. And that they clash a lot.
Yeah, I feel like, I'm not sure if this was noted already, that we should mention that Catalina's husband and his family are all from England, and they have literally brought over soil and
like rocks and like the house from England.
Servants. Yeah, they brought all this stuff
weird.
to build it. So they're
It's so
very
weird.
set in their ways, considering they're in Mexico, and definitely were not even attempting to, not like, you know,
Intermingle? Get to know the locals?
like, yeah,
Be part of a community?
Enjoy the community you've moved to.
Yeah.
No, they like are. They're crazy, but they're crazy for so many reasons.
Oh, we're gonna get into that. We have to get into
So
that.
yeah, I think that was a very good point to say that their lifestyle was very different than hers, and the silence at dinner was so weird.
It was so weird.
Can you?
Because they're always like, because the patriarch of the, what is their last name? I just blanked. It's like, I know Noemi's.
Yeah. Howard. Just call him Howard. Because I can't remember their
I
last
completely
name.
blanked.
Doyle. Holy cow.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, it's like a wow. Okay. I was just, because I was like, oh, first names. I'm like, that's not their family name. Anyway, so the Doyle patriarch Howard is like he's very old, and he's kind of sickly. He hasn't been doing well lately. So they're saying they're at dinner, they're like, oh, we don't make a lot of noise in the house because it upsets him. But then they're like, we can't talk. He has very sensitive ears. And
Well,
like,
and they keep saying that the sound travels in
Yeah.
unusual ways in the house, which you're like, okay, this is a very large, like, Victorian, multi-level...
Victorian Tudor kind of manor thing.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
how is sound traveling from this wing to this wing?
It's very strange.
We're skeptical already.
Yeah, there's plenty to be skeptical of in the beginning. And where's
So-
I going with this?
We were
So,
talking...
we were talking about characters.
Yes.
Anyway, so Howard Doyle, our patriarch, maybe our number one bad dad. Does he take the number one spot for bad dad? Because he's
I know, I've been trying to decide this. Okay. Is he worse than... Not the one in City of Brass. We had one that was worse than City of Brass.
yeah, Sauron in
Yes.
Children of Blood and Bone. Like, they're bad, but in different ways.
Okay. I'm going to say he's barely below Children of Blood and Bones, Dad.
Yeah.
Because that was like genocide of a whole people. And not to say this guy is not also doing that to an extent.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But not as well.
Yeah.
So he's number 2.
But he's on real thin ice.
Real thin
Thin
ice.
ice for being...
The biggest bad dad.
Yeah. So he runs the family, and then Virgil is his son and Catalina's husband,
Heir.
and he's kind of like charming but also creepy and cold.
Did you ever think he was charming?
He thought he was trying to be charming.
I don't even know that was true. Like, he was
Like-
just kind of a punk.
He is, but like I can see like how he could be.
I guess I could see
charming.
how he could have been charming to ensnare a wife.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Because he
one.
does. They do say he's like good looking, and he has like these English manners or whatever, and like
He's very polite.
and like whenever actors have English accents, everyone goes nuts. So it's like, you know.
And he was, I mean, what they could remember from the wedding, he seemed nice.
He seemed nice enough for the like 10 minutes they met him. And then we have
Florence. You want to do his sister?
Yes. Yeah, so that's Virgil's sister, and she's like the housekeeper. She kind of runs the house, the day-to-day stuff of it. And she's not very nice, ever.
I really did not like her.
I didn't like her either.
Oh, everything she said, just... Truly, Noemi has way more self-control than I do. I think I would have had a lot more choice words and comments to have made than she did.
Yeah. And Florence's son, Francis, he's a little bit older than Noemi. He's like mid-20s, and he just kind of helps out around the house, doing whatever they tell him. Like, he picks Noemi up from the bus station or train station?
Train station, yeah.
Train station. And he's just kind of there.
What did you think of Francis?
I liked him. I felt sorry for him a lot of the time, because there's some things he doesn't have a choice in, but then he's also like doubled down on that and like thinks he doesn't have choices when he does have choices, and he like tries to help, but he's also so stuck in this self-resignation that he doesn't realize he can help more than he can.
Right.
So I overall liked him because I felt bad for him.
Okay.
That's really sad.
Sad. I did not trust him for a really long time. I don't know why. I felt like we were doing good cop, bad cop.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just pushing him in to smooth it over. I mean, it took a long while for me to be like, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe he's okay. And I'll tell you where that moment was, but not yet.
There's also a few plot points where like something creepy happens, or Noemi like thinks something creepy's like afoot, and then Francis shows up immediately, like the next paragraph, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is your timing's a little too good. Yeah. So at times
okay, well, first off, do you have any other characters?
Should we talk about Catalina?
Yeah, you want to talk about Catalina? I liked I liked what we knew about Catalina.
Yeah.
She was very
she's harder to parse out when she's on the page.
Because she was in such a weird state for just, for good reason.
Yeah. So she's the one that sends the letter. She's Noemi's cousin. She's her older cousin. And Noemi has all these like very sweet memories of her. She's like, oh, she read me fairy tales. She like took care of me when I was little. And when we meet Noemi, like sometimes she's like too ill to have visitors, and Florence won't let anyone in. And
I was always skeptical about that too.
Yeah, me too. And then other times she's just sitting there, and it seems like, oh, maybe she's okay. And then sometimes she has these moments of clarity, and it's all very like difficult to figure out what's going on. And I was gonna say something else. Oh, Florence and Virgil tell us that Catalina has tuberculosis, and it's like, no, she doesn't.
None of those symptoms were even remotely symptoms of tuberculosis.
Yeah, or like whenever you see tuberculosis in anything, it's always they're like coughing into a handkerchief and there's blood.
Yep, that's what I'm saying.
Like,
they're not.
There's none of that.
They're not having moments where they are confused or like the high fever. Okay, maybe that could have been.
Yeah.
But like this in and out of like. Consciousness isn't the right word, but like clarity. Yeah, lucidity would be great. Didn't make any sense to me. I was like, I do not think that's what this is.
No, it's like you don't buy that this is tuberculosis.
Put that hand in hand with the knowledge that High Place has already had epidemics with fevers and what have you.
Are we still
like,
good? We looked like we were buffering for a moment, and now we might be frozen. Hopefully we're not frozen.
So keep going and we'll see what happens.
So if you can tell us if we're frozen, please let us know.
Yes.
But we'll also re-upload this on
Facebook and YouTube.
Yeah, so it'll be somewhere if we are frozen.
Yes.
But yeah, so Catalina, we do get to know her in a more clear state. So now should we talk about writing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. This isn't necessarily a writing comment, except that it is about the font.
Oh, yeah.
And weirdly, I had started reading this loving the font, even just the font in the general like pages, but especially the font that starts each chapter and
the numbers.
The numbers and the letter. And I love that there's a note in the back specifically addressing the type of font they use. I thought that was just fabulous. That made my nerdy self very happy.
It's also right because like most, like, I think I said like all the font, or like nearly all of it on like the outside of the book is unserifed, and then like inside it's all serif fonts. And I was like, why is this like this?
I also love that you know that.
So think of it, it's like Times New Roman, the little like flicks on the ends of the letters, those are serifs. Mm-hmm. And then
I didn't know any of that until you told me this just right now.
Yeah.
So I just adore that.
So like Arial or Arial or whatever, however you say it, is unserifed.
Oh, interesting. See? Things I'm learning. Anyway.
I like serif fonts. I think they're pretty. That's just me.
They're fancy. Aside from that, I mean, obviously I like her writing. I've already read one of her books and we chose this one specifically because it was her again. Yep. Her pacing is fantastic. Like, it is definitely hitting all the notes of the Gothic horror book that we want, but it's in a pace that's not so Victorian-y, which is really good too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you get going right. I felt like I got going right away.
I feel like we're going to get to spoilers soon because there's like Gothic. I want to talk about like the Gothic tropes and like what this book does to them or how it does them, because there's some ways I like very much appreciated how it did them.
Do you have any broad things you want to say about writing before that, and then we can just go?
That it's like a modern feminist take on Gothic stuff.
Yeah.
So, and I did appreciate that.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Because the Gothic can get kind of problematic.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like, she definitely updated this and made it, I don't know, I think she made it great. Okay.
What kind of reader do you think would read this? Like, what kind of level of gore and whatever that you're comfortable with?
Oh, because there is definitely some gore.
Yeah.
I think anybody who reads your darker fantasies or your thriller novels would be fine with this kind of stuff. I felt like it was on par with anything like that I have read. However, if you are more of a rom-com or cozy mystery reader, I would not think this would probably be up your speed.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if you're looking for something new, but it can get pretty graphic, gore-wise, at some spots.
And it's not very romantic.
No. I'm not saying, if you're looking for something outside of those.
Yeah.
Not saying that if you want that, you would read this.
Yeah.
You asked specifically on gore level.
Yeah.
Who would I say?
Because, like, it's really good. It's also, like, it does get unsettling and creepy. And that it says Gothic in the title. So it's like, that should just...
That should just tell you everything.
It's not Gothic light.
No, this is not Jane Eyre.
No.
This is much darker. More Edgar Allan Poe, but darker.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else before we spoil this book for everybody?
I'm good.
But you're all warned.
You're all warned. There's going to be spoilers. We're going to talk about the end. We're going to talk about
everything.
About everything, yeah.
So turn us off now. We will wait a moment.
X out. Come back later after you finish the book.
And then tell us everything you thought.
Yeah, since Sylvia posted on Facebook, you can tell us there, like, oh my god.
Right. Okay, I feel like that was enough time.
Think we're good? Are we good?
Okay, I feel like you're itching. Go.
Oh my god. This family is so messed up.
So messed up. And, like, even when you're like, okay, I kind of think it's along this. No, it's not. It's way worse.
Like the eugenics part in the beginning, she finds all these eugenics books, and I thought, and then there's the mining populations, because the family makes their money through mining, or made their money through mining. That I was like, oh my god, they're killing off populations of, like, the locals to, like, re-engineer this
I wondered if we were headed that way initially,
yeah, I'm like,
too.
Oh my gosh, this is gross. This is disgusting. And then it doesn't go that way. It gets worse.
It gets worse in a different way.
Yeah, it's worse on a different scale.
Yeah. Did you predict anything?
The mushrooms.
Right?
Kind of the incest, because I was like, they all look too similar, and I just don't trust this creepy white family.
They were so creepy.
But
did you think the incest was because of the reason it was?
No, I did not think that these mushrooms gave you immortality. Like, no.
And that you could move from body to body?
Yeah, no, I did not think that.
As long as you kept your blood pure. What was that, though, part? Like, what was in their blood? Did they ever say that
I think
made
it was all
this
the
work
inbreeding.
with the mushrooms?
I think it's all the inbreeding.
Well, they were specifically doing the inbreeding to keep that blood.
Yeah.
But it had to be something with Howard's initial.
Well, Howard ate Agnes's baby, remember?
I do remember, but I thought that it was even, like, he had to, I guess maybe really what it was, because they said that with Noemi, too, is that she was more, like, susceptible to the mushrooms. So they
like,
must
the house
have,
liked her.
Yeah, so they must have something that she had that was similar, which is the only reason why they were bringing her in to procreate. So I guess there's some sort of, I guess they didn't specify. But then, yes, obviously that was why they continued it. And the weird cannibalistic eating of the babies was wretched.
Yeah. That was gross.
That was so gross.
That was, because it doesn't even seem like it's a baby. Because it seemed like Agnes gives birth to not this, like, vaguely human lump.
It was a vaguely lump, yeah.
It's just creepy.
It was so weird. Okay, these were really messed up mushrooms and mold.
Yeah.
And I did love the house, because the house was obviously a character unto itself.
Yeah, I was going to say the house is kind of like a character, and the house is, like, kind of sentient.
Mm-hmm, because of all the mold and mushrooms.
And the creepy wallpaper.
Which was moldy.
Yeah, there was creepy wallpaper again that moved, sort of.
There were a lot of weird themes that we have been reading in other books. Did you notice? Like, there was the sleepwalking, bees. I mean, I don't know if there were actually ever bees. Were there bees at the bottom where Agnes is?
No, I thought that was just the buzzing was Agnes.
Right, but she kept thinking there were bees. That's what it
Yeah.
was. Okay, so I kept waiting for bees. And there was something else that I was like, gosh, this feels like other books we keep reading.
The wallpaper in Lockwood Manor.
Yeah, and you said there wasn't a lot of taxidermy in this, but there was something in here that I was like, oh, this kind of feels kind of like taxidermy like that. I mean, it's not, I don't remember what it was. Dang it, I should have written that one down, because I was like, it's kind of like that.
It's probably something in Howard's creepy attic bedroom.
Yeah, and the nightmares, didn't she have nightmares in Lockwood Manor, too?
Yeah, I think so. Queen of the Conquered also had nightmares, and I was reading those two very close together, so I was getting like, I was like, whoa, you're both having creepy nightmares.
That would have been kind of confusing in some ways, because, yeah. What did you think of the nightmares that weren't, did you think they were all actually nightmares, or do you think they were just the memories of the house?
It was hard to tell, because it sometimes seemed like they were nightmares, but then also that, like, Ruth was trying to talk to her through them. But then also I wondered if Virgil had any control over the nightmares.
Because he could control them?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we find out that like, Howard and Virgil, especially since they have, like, the most power in the family, can, like, listen through the fungus, I guess.
The gloom?
The gloom. Is it gloom or gloom?
What did you say?
Gloom? Gloom?
I thought it was gloom, but I was also saying glom in my head because of some other story that was not this one. So I'm sure you're probably more accurate.
I only heard it in the audiobook, so I don't know how anything's
how did they say it?
It sounded like gloon.
There's no N. It's Gloom.
I couldn't tell if we just made up a word because fantasy novel.
Right?
Yeah. So the gloom.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know where gloom is, but gloom. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. So because of that, they can control other members.
Yeah, they can, like, compel them to do things. They can, if the gloom takes, like, too much of a hold of you, it means you can't leave the house, which no one finds out.
Oh my gosh, that was crazy too.
But they can also kind of listen through it. And it's very, very creepy.
I feel like a good Gothic novel needs a creepy house, going back to that
that's
comment.
why it's called Gothic. It's from the type of architecture.
Right. So you had to have a house like this. I feel like if you're going to redo an amazing Gothic novel, you'd have to do something interesting with the house. And I think she did that. I mean, with it being, like, kind of like you said, with what's the word? Where the house has his mind.
Sentient?
Sentient, thank you. I'm like, man, it's right there, and I lost it. I think you, like, that really upped the level of her game.
Because then your setting becomes a character, too.
Yes. Okay, do you want to, before we... Oh, we're good on time. Talk about all the tropes? Because I know you want to talk about that.
Yeah, so we have our creepy Gothic house.
Check.
So I'm doing, like, high Gothic. So, like, before Frankenstein. It's, like, late 1700s, I think. If I'm remembering English class correctly.
I think it was about then.
Yeah, because, like, it was kind of petering out by when Frankenstein was written. Mm-hmm. That was, like, early 1800s. So creepy house, creepy Gothic house. We got that.
Check.
Exotic location, kind of.
Check.
I don't like using the word exotic, but, like, Spain and Italy were exotic compared to England.
Anything outside of England in their world was exotic, I think.
Yeah, so, and, like, we have this English family relocated in Mexico. We have the creepy family secret.
Check. So creepy family
On
secret.
steroids. We have the like threat to the female character's virginity.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that was checked.
Which like it's always like, oh my gosh, this is what's gonna be our threat to our female character. It always makes me tired.
Mm-hmm.
But in this one, it like made sense, and I wasn't mad at how it was done, especially with how else it handles female victims.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, I'm okay with this. Like, it's still unsettling, but
it was unsettling.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What else do we got? We don't have a creepy monk, or creepy priest, not really.
No. Well, you have the creepy doctor. Could we substitute doctor in?
Maybe. Yeah, he's creepy.
I mean, he was creepy. And
Yeah.
how long has he been there? Because, I mean, essentially, anybody who's taking these mushrooms...
He's a distant cousin.
Right, because he's family.
Yeah.
Has extended life. It seemed like he'd been there for a long time at this stage. Okay.
I think that was, if not explicit, then we were supposed to understand
Yeah.
that. We have secret tunnels.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones I can think of.
Is like a cemetery mausoleum necessary? Because we had that too.
I don't know. It might be, but we did have that.
We did have that. I always associate it with this, but it doesn't. I don't know that that's actually a genuine trope. It could just be a Jodie thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really great. Did you want to talk about how it was more feminist updated and go more into that?
Yeah, it's because it's like when we read Jane Eyre, we hear about Bertha, like the mad wife in the attic. So it's always like the mad woman in the attic, and it's like once she's mad, you don't have to listen to her or take her seriously. And like with Catalina, they're even like discrediting her the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Or with Ruth, who they're like, oh, Ruth went mad, and that's why she killed everyone and herself. And it's like we get these narratives that they're like the surface narrative is that they're going mad, and then it like unravels it more. It's like, no, Catalina knew she was in danger, knew something was wrong, tried to get help, and managed to.
Yeah.
Ruth knew this family was messed up and just was going to try and like fix it and end it for everyone. Just
she really tried. Like, you got to give her credit for that. Like, she really was trying to end this line.
Yeah, and then she gets like written off, and then when Noemi, even kind of happens to Noemi at one point where they're like, she tries to bring a tonic for Catalina that Catalina asks for, and it ends up making her very ill. We don't know why it's making her very ill, but we find out later. And they're like, oh no, you brought her an opioid. Like, how could you do that? And there's a lot of like gaslighting going on.
There was a lot of gaslighting.
And then we find out like what happens to past like female members of the family, to like Alice and Agnes, and like why like Alice is held up. It's like, oh, Howard loved Alice, but Agnes is the mother, but we don't see any of Agnes's children or descendants. So it was just like there's a lot of like women in the history of this family, and they aren't given like light or time to tell their story, but then this Noemi like uncovers them. So it just felt like we're listening to their stories and to like what happened to them, which I liked.
Yeah, I did too. And I think that Noemi was such a smart character. I mean, she realized that the way to figure this out, because, you know, sometimes she was mad. I was way more mad than she ever was. And she realized that that was never going to win over that family because of exactly what you're saying. I think they would have just been like, you're just being hysterical. You need to go lie down in your room. Let's make you a cup of tea. Kind of an attitude.
Yeah.
Well, we put some fungus in this that will then just
that's why, like,
adhere
Florence,
you here.
Like, is like especially sinister because it's like she's not going to be any kind of an ally to you.
No, she's the one, like, not poisoning, but, you know, she's the one adding all the mushroom to the food that's going to keep you there.
Yeah, she's very in on. She's just as like complicit in all of this as like Howard and Virgil are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's creepy. It's very creepy. That's like a different kind of creepy.
And she was, and like all the scolding and. Yeah. Do you want to talk more about Francis and his role in this, or did you more on anything else before I sidetrack you?
We can go to Francis. We can always come back. Okay. Like, I feel bad for Francis, too, because I think we're supposed to read him as much of a victim of this family as, like, Noemi and Catalina are. Not in a different way.
Yeah, he was... I can't even imagine being raised into this family. And it's not, like, exactly Stockholming syndrome that he has. because I don't...
He's also being, like, controlled by the mushroom.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And how was he able to go to town then? Oh, because they let him leave. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That was answered. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's being controlled by the mushroom as well as his creepy mom and everybody else. I mean, Howard was doing stuff to them all as well.
Yeah, it's like that. Like, this is his family too, and this is like the only people he's ever known.
Yeah, it would be such a weird... I can't even imagine being his character and being, like, you love your mom, but you also know she's really doing terrible, terrible things. And then to finally, like, hit the wall where you're like, I'm done with this. I mean, that actually showed some courage.
Yeah, and, like, his dad tried to leave, and that's, like, a story we all get, and that, like, Noemi gets it. He tried to leave, and they're like, he ran his car off the side of the side of the ravine, and it's like, we think it's just like, oh, it's just an accident late at night or whatever, or someone engineered it, but no, it's like the house like wouldn't let him leave, so it killed him instead.
It kills, yeah.
It's this murderous mushroom.
It's a murderous mushroom, exactly.
I think of the mushrooms in, like, Super Mario, and, like, that's not what this looks like.
Never look at them the same.
No. These are little tiny black mushrooms, I think it was
Except the ones they ate at the wedding were, like, orange.
Yeah, that was just an aphrodisiac mushroom.
Right, it was. They said that.
Yeah,
that's right.
and I'm like, this is even creepy. This is creepy.
But that was all weird, too, because... So they both did that, but then Virgil's the one to come to her door.
That's just because he's sick.
I know, that was so messed up.
That's because he's gross.
Poor Francis. I think that you were supposed to read him as the victim as well. And I don't know how... I don't think he ever would have been able to help somebody until there were... I think it was important to have Catalina and Noemi there. Like, the stakes were raised. And then plus because he really bonded with Noemi, I mean, obviously that really showed him.
Yeah.
There are other people out there. They're not so crazy like your family.
Yeah. They're good. They're good. Did you buy the romance between them at the end? Because, like, the last word I think is love.
I think it is love, but no, I really didn't. I didn't think this was a love story.
Yeah, and the third time she kissed him, it was for love, and I was like,
oh,
is
yeah. This is again that situation where you're put into an intense situation. So is it really love you're feeling, or just it's bonding because you've survived this together?
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. So I do think that they probably went off to Mexico City, and she probably stays friends with him. Like, I could see him being like a friend or
yeah, they very much had, like, I don't know,
platonic friendship.
What did I say, like, platonic best friend life partner energy?
Yeah, I agree. She never really found him, like, attractive. She always talked herself into finding him attractive, which I thought was also weird. That she kept commenting on that, like, he's not very good looking. Virgil is, da-da-da-da-da. But
that's a whole thing.
Yeah, that was like, okay, honey, he doesn't have to be good looking. So no, I didn't buy this as a romance.
Yeah, like, I could see it, but it also, I was like, okay, if it is cool, if not, like, I
don't need it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that totally.
Should we talk about Agnes or Ruth? They were both interesting.
Maybe both. Do we want to start? Well, I mean, we kind of already covered Ruth a little bit.
Yeah, she just like, that was the voice Noemi was hearing. Was she hearing Ruth or was she hearing Agnes?
No, she was hearing Ruth, because Ruth kept saying, open your eyes, open your eyes.
Because when the family members die, they're, like, absorbed into the gloom, and their consciousness get, like, uploaded into the mushroom cloud.
Right? That was a really good way of putting all that. Which is why when she's having nightmares, she's also having, like, memories.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you think about her sleepwalking? Like, that was sort of interesting. Like, that the nightmares were...
that was in Girl from Widow Hills.
Yeah, that's the sleep. Do you think that, like, Virgil was actually controlling her sleepwalking to his room? I hadn't really thought about that.
It could be. Also, they were also, like, trying to drug her.
They were totally drugging her with the mushroom.
Yeah, so I wonder if that could have been, like, a side effect of the mushrooms, too.
But she kept ending up at, like, his door. Now that I'm thinking about this, it seems even pervy and creepier than I realized.
Yeah, because he's trying to be like, oh, it's because you want me. It's like, no, you're being a creep.
You are a creep to the next level. Yes, let's definitely talk about Agnes, Howard's first wife.
Yes.
Well, that's not actually true, I guess.
Yeah.
He was married before Agnes and Alice. It's briefly mentioned because he married the one girl with the priest, because we find out how old Howard is.
Because Howard's like 300-something years old, right?
Right. So when he burns all of the the priest and the whole tribe.
Yeah,
there
he like takes over and makes it a cult.
And makes himself a god. Yeah.
That was weird.
I mean, that's all his goal was to be a god. But
Yeah.
anyway. So Agnes, his first English, I don't even know if it's his first English wife. The first wife we're really mentioned about.
Yeah, like Agnes and Alice are also sisters, so Agnes is the older sister.
I, at one point, was afraid they were going to be like his kids. I mean, because obviously.
Yeah, that's not out of the realm of possibility.
It's not out of the realm. So that was messed up. Do we just want to, can I just say that okay. So they buried Agnes alive in a coffin in order to, because this mushroom needs Howard realized in order to get immortality, let me start way back at the beginning, that you needed to do more than just consume the mushroom as well as consuming flesh that has been eaten of the mushroom. You needed to give the mushroom a mind. So they bury Agnes alive in order to let the mushroom take her over and take on her mind, which then becomes the house and everything
becomes
else.
the gloom.
And
so
the
Agnes
gloom.
is the gloom.
Yeah.
Agnes is the cloud.
She's the cloud. I'm so glad our cloud is not like that. Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
good
Please,
gosh.
let's not go down that train.
This whole book is just like if you find black mold and then don't do anything about it and just let it like overrun your house.
This is totally how I read that, actually. Why are you breathing all this toxic mold? So, oh my gosh, her whole scene where she was in the coffin, it was like, that was heartbreaking and just upsetting. And then she's mummified.
Yeah, she's like trapped in there and like not really alive, but also not really dead.
Yeah.
So the open your eyes was always for Agnes. So Ruth was trying to be like, open your eyes, open your eyes. And should I say what Noemi does? Yeah, Noemi like burns the whole place down.
Yeah.
Which like
it had to happen.
Yeah, like fairly early on, like I realized that like there's only one way this book can end that will be like satisfying for our hero. And
well, also early on there is a fire mentioned to kind of give foreshadowing.
Oh, there is. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I remember early on being like, this is gonna all burn. Maybe it's midway when Ruth says I should have burnt it all down. Maybe that's what it was. Okay, you were on to that part maybe faster than I was.
Well, because also like I was thinking about Jane Eyre and like how Thornfield burns. So I was like, okay, that's kind of the only way this is going to end, which I like. It's fine with like you get to the end and you don't. If you guessed it, you don't feel like cheated that you guessed it. It's also very satisfying because like Agnes kind of
she needed to be freed.
Yeah, it's like she's kind of like put to rest, like really put to rest.
Yeah, that was so needed for her. But do you actually think it's gone? Because Frances is concerned that those mushrooms will survive because they do quite well in fires. So
I hope everyone in the family that like knew anything about these mushrooms and was going to do anything with these mushrooms is dead. Francis is just going to make pretty spore prints of them if he finds them ever again.
Right. I did have that moment of, oh no, there's going to be another family that figures this out.
If they do, then that becomes their problem.
Right. Yeah, and that was also why on Agnes's statue it said mother, because she was the mother of all the people and all the immortality and all the mushrooms gloom, and all the gloom. Yeah, I mean everything. It was just crazy. Just crazy. What did you think of the servants who were like nothing?
They were just husks.
Like this is just all messed up.
It was like I didn't see that coming. I was like, oh my god.
So I felt a lot of this was sort of predictable, but in really satisfying ways. Like, it didn't bother me that I knew it was going to be the mushrooms right away. It didn't bother me that I knew it was all going to burn down, because there were still enough turns and twists that I was like, whoa, didn't see that one.
Didn't see that coming. I thought Frances was going to die a little bit. Like at the end.
I could see that. I was worried about Catalina, actually.
Yeah, so like Catalina kind of like this okay, so Catalina gets very sick from the tonic Noemi gives her, because the tonic was actually like fighting off the mushroom, because the mushrooms are very sensitive. They don't like this tonic. They don't like sunlight. Yep. They don't like the smell of cigarettes. Yeah. So this tonic was kind of like bringing her clear again and like
releasing her from the house.
Releasing her from the house's hold. Yes, that's how I wanted to put it. But she took too much of it at once, and it made her ill. So she, like, Noemi and Frances kind of like sneak little doses of it to her when they're making their escape plan, and so Catalina is able to like help them escape.
But I thought during that escape was when she would end up perishing. Although she had some fantastic moments in the escape. Oh my goodness. I was like, yes, you needed this.
You deserve this.
Yes.
I didn't think she was ever going to die. I thought Frances might die. Because I
didn't think Frances.
I thought this was going to be that, like, once you're a Doyle, you're always a Doyle. You don't get out. Doyles do not leave high place.
I always saw him getting out.
Huh.
How funny. But I wasn't sure if Catalina would. That's funny. I don't know why. Yeah. All right. Anything we've missed?
Yes, plus mushrooms are 90% underground. They are, because we go underground. We go under the house, and we find Agnes in this, like, shrine, glass coffin thing.
Underneath the cemetery area. I guess it was her mausoleum, probably underground.
It's under the mausoleum. Yeah, they have
even deeper. Okay.
So it's like they can go down through the mausoleum, or they go through the cellar.
The house, yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was very creepy.
Very, very creepy. In such fun ways. Parting thoughts, anything else you feel like we need to discuss? Because there was so much fun in this.
Like seeing this book in person, like I thought it would be longer.
Oh.
Because, like, I don't know
how long was the audiobook?
Over 12 hours, 16.
Oh, yeah, I get why you'd think that.
Definitely over 10 hours, maybe over 12. I don't remember anymore. I listened to it. It was like 2 days of just like, I need to like listen to this. This is
a great book to like just get lost into. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's really good. I like that like Ruth's whole goal was eventually accomplished.
Yes.
To like destroy it all, burn it all down.
Yes.
So I did like that.
Mm-hmm.
I really like this book. It was really good.
Me too. I thought this was fabulous. I gave it probably 5 stars. That's how much I liked it. Yeah, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
We recommend it. Go read it.
Even
though we spoiled it.
We did spoil all of it. But it's still like that moment when you find out like this is what's all going on. It'll still like hit you like a ton of bricks, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I don't know that we explained some of it very well. So yeah.
It's complicated. Like the mycelium.
Yes.
Like underground of mushrooms.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
That was well done.
I remember something from biology class.
And what are we reading next week?
We're reading another dark fantasy book. We're reading The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. So it's like a young woman it's set in like a fantasy Puritan time, and she discovers she has like dark magical powers, and yeah,
that was all we needed.
It has witch in the title, so like Jody was going to want to read it.
Jody picked it, yeah.
So I'm very excited to read. I read the prologue already, like a week or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's the prologue. Does it say prologue? No, it just says The Beast.
Ooh.
And it's kind of like creepy and dark already, and I'm like, cool.
Well, we do tend to read the creepy dark fantasies.
We do.
That seems to be on par for what we do.
Yep.
We also had requests for maybe what else we're going to be reading.
Because we don't really keep a schedule.
We just do it on the whim.
Yeah, we pick like maybe 2 weeks out in advance, and then sometimes even that changes depending on like what happens in the world.
We really commit once we tell you what we're reading.
Yeah, that's when we're like, we're doing this. So Year of the Witching is for the 21st, and we'll be back on Facebook. Mm-hmm. Facebook Live for that one, even though our experiment has gone pretty well today.
So we may come back.
Yeah. And then for the 28th...
Well done. I wouldn't have known what the date was.
I was like, oh my gosh.
The week after is what I would have said.
Well, then I just saw September, and I'm like, oh my god. Anyway.
28th.
We're reading Circe and discussing that one by Madeline Miller. I'm very excited to talk about this one. I see that one
you're going to be excited about.
Yes, I am excited to talk about this one.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah. It's totally your thing.
It is my thing.
I don't think you need to give a synopsis on that yet. We can save it for next week.
Yeah. So that's
our next couple weeks.
That's our next couple weeks. That's all we have. That's what we've picked. Yeah. And then we'll
tell you again later.
Go from there.
Well, thank you for joining us and doing our first Instagram live.
Yeah.
Wow, I drew a blank. It's time to go home.
I forgot their whole family name, which gets mentioned like 500 times in the book.
Right, because you got to be a Doyle. Oh my god, that was so annoying when they kept being like, but I'm a Doyle. And I want to be like, that's nice. I'm a Hardy. So, anyway. It just annoyed me.
You tell him.
I was mentally. I may argue with them in my... It's fine. Anywho, thank you for joining us.
This was fun.
This was fun. And we will hopefully see you guys all next week.
Yeah, and now I'm going to go peer in the camera as I figure out how to turn the live off.
Good luck. Bye.